Hi, I'm Jonny Strinati, sound designer and producer, and in this video for Sample Market, I'll be taking a look at some sound design and synthesis techniques for creating garage-style bass lines using NI Massive. We'll be recreating one of the patches taken from the UK Garage Massive and Sylenth presets pack, which is available now on SM Studio. By utilising the Modulation oscillator in Massive, we can create some incredibly powerful tones. And for those moody FM style basses, the phase option is excellent, especially when applied to a smooth waveform such as a sine or square. However, in this video, we'll opt for the ring modulation mode, which will yield a slightly different but still vibey sound. The MIDI part that will play back our sound is in the key of C minor, with quite an extreme swing being applied. This type of swing is essential for generating that loosely swung groove, typically found in many garage tracks. Over on Massive, we begin with a new sound. In Oscillator 1, we choose a smooth square wavetable and bring the wavetable position control all the way to the left. We also take the pitch of the oscillator down -2 octaves to -24. Seeing as it's a bass sound, it's much better we make the synth monophonic so the bass notes don't overlap, and on the oscillator section we roll the glide down to 0. Navigating now to the Modulation oscillator, we turn this on and direct the ring mod to modulate Oscillator 1. Turning the ring mod amount up, we can audition how this will affect our sound. As you can hear, the ring mod, when applied to the right waveform, can generate that hollow sound often used in garage tracks and to a more extreme extent in bass music styles. If we want a more consistent sound, we can turn on the restart via gate button. This re-triggers the oscillator phases on each new key press. However, now the sound clicks slightly between notes. Heading back to the voicing section, we select Mono Rotate. Compared to the monophonic mode, this option always tends to generate a smoother and less clicky sound. Ideally, we want some movement on this ring mod amount now for some added harmonics. Heading to our first modulation envelope, we click and drag the crosshair and drop it on our ring mod amount. Clicking and dragging upwards on the blue 1 that we can now see in our modulation box to apply the modulation amount. On the mod env itself, we back off the attack slightly for added movement in the attack phase. Now let's head over to the filter section and load a filter in our filter 1 slot. Opting for the Daft filter, which is a low pass filter modelled on analog circuitry, so should add some extra character to our sound. We'll set the resonance amount to about 1/3 and add the same modulation envelope to the cutoff frequency. Just a tiny amount of modulation here will do the trick. The resonance is pushing up the frequencies around the cutoff filter frequency amount, thus helping to yield a more warpy garage-like tone. Massive has an abundance of decent organ-style wavetables we could use for an optional organ top layer. These are great for many garage and house styles. We choose Flender's 2 wavetable, sweeping down the oscillator amp to 0 and then controlling the amp with the same modulation envelope. We can now engage Massive's sidechain option to provide us with more control over our modulation amounts. By clicking the SC button and selecting the upwards arrow on our modulation slot, we can now control the amount of modulation being applied to this control. utilising a macro by clicking and dragging the crosshair to our sidechain slot on our amp control, thus creating a volume control for the amount of modulation being applied to our Oscillator 2 amplitude. We can also do the same thing with our ring mod amount. Although not the most essential step in creating our patch, engaging the sidechain function in this way provides us with the option to automate our modulation amount, which can help to provide some variation when this bass sound is looped over in our arrangement. To beef up our sound slightly, we load the classic tube effect, setting the dry, wet and drive to around 1/3. We can then finish off our sound by boosting the low shelf on the EQ slightly for some increased bottom end.